mind and one for the intelligent as fellas get. Listen, let's settle this, be clear. I could fall back 7 years, still it ain't no one ahead of me. Consider it a blessing if you get to stand next to me. 5-star general, OG veteran, cake like.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Today I want to talk about something that actually it's going on right now in my life, and I'm being asked over and over again, Jerry, what's your next goal? What's your next show? Etc. etc. Why don't you hop back on large amounts of gear and get off the HRT and come back? And I'm sitting there going like, it's time to just address this because it's getting asked enough times, and many people don't know actually what's going on right now, where my thought process is. 2013, training for the Delaware, and then I went on to the Sean Wright. I tore my pec. That was like my first major injury besides my back, which I couldn't figure out what was going on with my back and why I could never really do deadlifts without pain. Never really got it looked into, which that's a problem right there in itself. And I knew heading into that show that would probably be my last show as a bodybuilder in 2013, which was the Sean Wright. I know I couldn't maintain that mass anymore. If I wasn't being able to bench press and my shoulder joints were starting to give me problems, I knew. I said, you know what? I can't keep doing this to myself. It's not going to work. I put 20 years of literal hardcore, high-intensity training, high volume, low volume, powerlifting type training, everything for 20 years, and it was starting to take a toll on my body. Now, fast forward to last year when I decided to jump back into physique. I knew I wasn't going to be able to maintain them. Well, back up. So we'll go back to 2014 where I actually tore my rotator cuff. Wasn't even training for a show, but the mindset was huge, strong, going to be at the 5% booth, stand next to Rich Piana. I can't be, that small because I'm going to look even worse. Tore my right rotator cuff and my right bicep tendon. So 2 major injuries within those 2 years' time. Last year, decided I was going to get back into physique. I didn't have to carry the mass. I didn't have to train as heavy. And my mindset getting ready, for that year, I was maintaining about 176 pounds, is about as light as I got, which is where I wound up winning the Delmarva in the master's class. I knew, I was like, I don't have to train heavy to maintain this mass. Fast forward again to this year, I was training heavier again. And my limited range of motion due to the rotator cuff, I got a lot of heat. A lot of people making fun of me. You don't press all the way, you don't go all the way down. I'm like, look, I got a torn rotator cuff and a torn fucking bicep tendon and a shitload of scar tissue in there that's never going to go away. And a torn pec. And I'm still doing incline dumbbell presses with 100 pounds. I mean, most people, they're not even going to go to the gym. They're going to fucking quit. They're going to say, I can't fucking do this. I went, I made my best physique ever. I got on stage. I stepped back and, I said, okay, I could go the route with taking more drugs and going to compete again. And then this happened, okay? What this is what many of you don't know is my dad has actually been in and out of the hospital for the last month. It was like 2 weeks before the show. 2 weeks before the Team Universe, or the week before. I think it was the week before. My prep was ending. I was on the treadmill. My mom called, and she said, your father's in the hospital. His heart rate is 155 beats a minute at rest. His blood sugar is almost 400, and he's diabetic. It takes diabetic medication. He's in a serious spot right now. He also can't talk. So they were thinking stroke, and so I sit back, and I said, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of stuff going on at once. Well, this goes on for the next month. A month. He was in and out of the hospital. They couldn't find anything wrong with him. They sent him home. They gave him a PET scan, thought maybe the cancer came back or a tumor. Or they finally deducted that it was a narrowing of the spine. He has stenosis, narrowing of the spine. It's pushing on a nerve, caused one of his vocal cords, which is the one that he uses to talk, to be paralyzed, and he now can't talk. He's had 2 rotator cuff surgeries, a major back surgery, pneumonia, where he almost died from. His hips are degenerative. He's got degenerative discs in his back. His spine is essentially turning to powder. And he has nerve damage in both his legs, on top of being diabetic and has high blood pressure. And I looked at this and I said, my mom has had 2 heart attacks. She's had breast cancer. My father's also had lung cancer twice. I'm looking at these things and I'm like, holy shit, these are my genetics. This is what's happening when you don't fucking take care of yourself. Bottom line is my dad didn't really go to the doctors. He never got himself checked out and stuff. And he would just was like a workhorse. He was a physical workhorse. And over time, it ruined his body. And that really, I'm watching him go through this. And I really stepped back and I was like, I could do this. But even if you win that show, there's like another show. Like there's a mindset that never changes, that you want to go do the next thing and be better. Well, at 40 years old, my body is starting to break down. I tore the rotator cuff and the bicep tendon. When my dad was my age, he was a fucking mess already. So I'm already ahead of the curve. My mom has had major back surgery. She has problems with her bones. My younger brother, who's 35 years old, Justin, is getting ready for major back surgery for the compressed slip disc in his back, which is the same thing that I have, which is congenital that we both had. And I just found out that my uncle had this narrowing of the spine, had a surgery on that, which is my dad's brother. My grandmother had that. My father's sister, my other aunt, had it before she passed away. I'm like, my genetics are to not be the healthiest person if I'm fucking with my body. And I've gone through all the training and power training and stuff like that, like, you know, the high intensity, high weight, low rep stuff that's fucked with my joints. I went through the heroin addiction, which definitely did damage to my body. There's no doubt about it. And I'm like, at 40 years old, compared to my parents, I'm actually ahead of the curve right now, health-wise. You know, I'm healthy. I don't get sick. My blood work is good. My body's breaking down, but I'm forcing it to break down by what I'm doing to it. And I really had to step back and say, like, you know, I went back to overhead pressing, dumbbell pressing. I shouldn't be doing that with torn rotator cuffs. No, I didn't have a full range of motion, but you don't have a full range of motion because of the pain. Pain is there to tell you something's wrong. Death means you didn't listen. But bottom line was, you know, I trained through the pain for the show to get to that stage, and I felt accomplished, and I felt all these things, but then the show's over, and then what? You know, I'm left with the fact that I'm still having problems. Like, I can't flat dumbbell press without having a problem with my fucking other rotator cuff on the left side now. And I'm sitting here going, I don't know if this is all worth it. You know, like, in my mindset, and it's not for other people. Like, I don't get on stage and push myself to prove myself to other people or to show off or anything like that. I chronicle shit on Bios3 training because people want to understand. They want to see it. They find it entertaining to look into someone else's life because they have similar things that they're doing. But at this point, it's after the show. I'm not training as with heavier weights. I'm maintaining about 200 pounds, 198 to 200. Still very lean. I'm eating better in general. I'm hitting my macros. I'm actually counting macros now. I'm taking different vitamins and multivitamins and colloidal minerals and trying to get my body to the point where, you know, things don't hurt. Because that pain, that's the first thing letting you know something's wrong. You know, and it's a struggle because I want to be the guy that fucking goes all out. And I want to be the guy that fucking tears it up and just fucking goes to the gym and leaves nothing on the floor, which I was for years. For years, we're talking workouts that were 3 hours long with fucking 25 sets for fucking buys, 25 sets for tries. I used to do shit like that. And I've worn my body down now to the point where if I do shit like even fucking moderate sets, I have a lot of pain, a lot of inflammation, and injuries flare up. And Phil Herndon warned about this. He absolutely warned me. He said, you know what? When you're younger, you're like overhead pressing, bench pressing. Almost all pec tears occur on a flat barbell bench press. Think about that for a second. And what's the first thing you see everybody running to? Today's Monday. At the gym, everybody's going to run in and do the flat barbell bench press, try to bench as much as they can. And that's the major injury, the main injury cause of a torn pec. So I look back and now I'm like, my goals have to change. You know, I'm not going to be the biggest guy at the expo. I'm not going to be the most shredded guy at the expo. I'm going to be the guy who's athletic, who's lean, who's got enough size to look a little bit bigger in a crowd of regular people. But someone who feels good. I went through so much pain from 17 years old to 40 years old. Think about it like this. When you're training for a show, you're in fucking pain constantly. They did that for 20 years. Injuries. Fucking, that happened the last 6 to 7 years of my training for competitions. You're constantly in pain. And at 40, I'm like, I'm enough. Enough is enough. I don't want the pain. I want to actually live my life and be healthy and happy and not have to worry about fucking icing my joints or fucking lay down in bed and your body fucking like vibrates from the pain because it hurts so bad because you're trying to fucking do 100-pound dumbbell presses because the guy next to you did them at the gym or because people online are talking shit about you, so you got to prove them wrong. Like, your ego gets in the way, and I've had to try to put my ego aside and say, I'm not going to carry as much muscle. I'm not going to walk around fucking jacked. I'm not going to take boatloads of fucking gear, which, don't get me wrong, don't think that didn't cross my mind to fucking jump on a bunch of shit and go after the national level again. All these things cross my mind. But at 40, I have to have a maturity that's a little bit different, have an athletic, lean physique that, you know, maybe I'm not to inspire or motivate the young kids anymore. Maybe that's not what it is. Maybe it's for people that are my age to look at me and say, oh, I fucking want to be like that, you know, when I'm his age, or I wish I could be like that, and I am his age. Whatever the case may be, I don't even know what it is. But I do know that I can't keep going on the way that I was for the last 20 years without having a fucking major setback and a major injury that caused a surgery that would cause me not to be able to train anymore. which is really the take-home message. You have to train to maintain a certain amount of muscle mass. You have to fucking do these things, eat a certain way, make sure you get your micros, train to keep your body strong, train to keep your bones strong, which is another thing that, you know, my family has, you know, going against them. You know, if I have literally had a congenital disc compression in my back since birth. They found it about 4 or 5 years ago, no, maybe 6 or 7 years ago when I went to a chiropractor, did an x-ray. And the doctor was flat out like, look, you have this compressed disc and this is causing this pain and this causes your hip to not rotate properly. I said, well, did I do it squatting? That was my question. And he said, no. He said, that's congenital. He goes, that's been there. Well, fast forward to like, you know, a few months ago, I found out my brother has it. My father had several compressed discs in his spine and a herniated disc. So it's kind of hard to figure out what was congenital in him because he's 72 years old or something like that. 72? Something like that. I don't know, 68, 69, 70, something. Anyways. Bottom line is, guys, you know, that's where I'm at right now with my life and my training. And everybody has to find their own journey. They always have to find their own way. But sometimes you have to give up a piece of what you like to be able to continue to do the other things that you like. To continue to train, I have to give up the super heavy training. To continue to be happy and live healthy, I have to give up the muscle mass and the extra weight that makes me feel like shit and ruins my health. That's just the way it is, guys. So be aware. You know, when you see that guy in the gym, he may not be the biggest guy. He may not be the most shredded guy. He could have been one day. And for that, you got to give people respect. Don't ever look down on someone because they don't look a certain way right now that you see them. They could have been the most shredded motherfucker ever and have all the respect of everybody in the gym because you don't know what they looked like before. Doesn't mean that they weren't fucking the head of the curve back in the day or even fucking invented something, some kind of fucking exercise or something that helps people out. Just give people respect, know where you're at, and when it comes time to change, although I hate change and change sucks, change. Bios3training@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.bios3training.com is a blog. It's the Change It Up Bicep, and we're out.